With this small change, you can identify any note or pitch on the piano. Despite hearing and playing notes on the piano every single day for about 20 years, I still can't just hear a note and instinctively be able to tell you what it is.
What's this note?
I don't know, C? Is it a Z? I have no idea. Why is that? This truly baffles me. It's as though you were being asked to pick out a particular coloured tile in this picture, but everything just appears grey. This is why the phenomenon of perfect pitch, or absolute pitch you may hear it called, is so mysterious and fascinating. To the 1 in 10,000 people that have it, which included composers like Beethoven and Mozart, picking out notes in this way is as simple as picking out one of the coloured tiles in our image. This ability can seem magical, but is it? Or is it something that we can all learn? We're going to discover why some people have perfect pitch and why I don't, the factors that play a role, and most importantly, how you can improve your sense of pitch. I don't want to just tell you though, I want to show you. Behind the camera we have Yuki. Say hi, Yuki.
Hi.
Yuki has perfect pitch, and we're going to challenge what we can hear and what Yuki can hear with increasing levels of difficulty. I'm going to play a single note on the piano, and the challenge is, can you intuitively recognize or guess what the note is? Are you ready, Yuki?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. This is the first note. Make a note of your answers and we will come back to them shortly. So why do our pitch abilities vary so much? If you wanted to learn perfect pitch, you could start by looking at how those with the ability acquired it. We've all heard that it's easier to learn languages when you are young, and the critical period theory suggests there's a limited time for auditory learning in childhood too. This period lasts until you're about 6 years old, when the brain can remember and record notes that belong to the same pitch class, much like how we see and remember colours. So does everyone have this ability to develop perfect pitch when they're younger, given enough exposure to music, or do you just have to have the right genes? Unfortunately, the exact genes for perfect pitch remain unknown, but studies have suggested that there may be a genetic component to perfect pitch, as it tends to run in families. Indeed, 3 other members of Yuki's family have perfect pitch. Unfortunately, and as you might have guessed, I am not 6 years old, and perfect pitch does not run in the family. So what are the options? Well, a study at the University of Chicago took participants from various musical backgrounds and trained them on notes from real instruments, not electronic sounds. They listened to and identified 180 notes and were given instant feedback on their answers. The participants were able to show a significant improvement after their training, but were they able to recall the notes months later? And is this really perfect pitch? In level 2, we're stepping it up with multiple notes at the same time. This might prove a little bit more challenging. Okay, Yuki, are you ready for this one?
Yes, I am.
Right then, here we go. Remember to make a note of your answers and we'll come back to them shortly. So a few months after the participants in Chicago completed their training, a follow-up showed that they had actually retained most of their ability to recognize and identify notes. Pitch acquired in this way is sometimes called pseudo-perfect pitch. Unlike true perfect pitch, where individuals cannot identify instinctively or reproduce notes without any external cues, pseudo-perfect pitch may well require a degree of practice. There's no doubt that we need further research in this area, but the question is, even if you can learn perfect pitch in this way, should you? Take our coloured tiles where everything appeared grey. If you were told the colour of just one of the tiles, you could then work out the colour of all of the other tiles. Let me explain. If you give me the note C on the piano and ask me to identify another note, I can do that relative to the note that you just provided by knowing the interval or gap between them. With this small change, you can identify any note or pitch on the piano. This is relative pitch, and it can help with playing by ear and also recalling the music that you learn. I naturally had a pretty poor sense of pitch, and it wasn't until I was sat in a classroom with a tutor at the piano playing a melody and asking us to write it down that I realized quite how impossible this seemed, and that I needed to start to figure out this pitch business. If we restarted our challenge with a reference tone, then levels 1 and 2 might seem a little bit more accessible. Perhaps not level 3 though. A great starting point for developing relative pitch is to firstly become familiar with pitching scales and arpeggios. Practice singing them without too much help from the piano. Next, learn each of the intervals within an octave and practice singing them. There are a couple of tricks to help you to do this, and one of them is to use songs that are already familiar to you. If we were to start with the octave, that's 8 notes apart, like C to C, then you could use the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow, as the word somewhere span the octave. You can find songs that fit every single interval if you need to, but one of the other familiar patterns that I like to use that we talked about earlier are arpeggios. You can use these to find the interval of a third and a fifth, and then by extension you can find the other intervals around these. Now we're taking it up a notch with a combination of notes played at the same time with high and low pitches. I really don't know how this is going to go, so let's just give it a try. Yuki, are you ready?
Yes.
Alright, here we go, no peeking. Alright, the moment has arrived. We are going to find out what the answers are. So our first one was this note here. Yuki, did you have an answer for this one?
It was G.
Okay, level 2 was 2 notes together, and I believe we had these two here. Any ideas?
D on the bottom, B flat on the top.
And now finally, we are going to test her abilities with the last one here. See if you got this one, and it was this.
G and A on the top.
Okay, that is right.
And B, D, F on the bottom.
B, D, F on the bottom. We were very close there. It was a B flat at the top of the left hand there, but you did super well. I would not have got any of those at all. Let me know how you did, and if you found that really hard or really easy, or if you would have liked a harder challenge. Something that we touched on earlier that is so important as a pianist is memory. Specifically, how do we remember the music that we learn? To improve your memory and find out the rather strange object I used to describe how, check out the next video.